Almost all major non-theist organizations in the United States, including religious humanists, student organizations, military organizations of atheists, and others, are members of the Secular Coalition for America. I've left some literature on the back table, not only about the American Humanist Association, but also about this Secular Coalition for America. They have an active advisory board that includes Richard Dawkins, Salman Rushdie, Christopher Hitchens, Dan Dennett, several other well-known names. They have a full-time, actually 2 full-time lobbyists working in Washington, D.C. And for the first time in the history of this country, we have full-time lobbyists meeting with representatives in Congress, sitting down, talking with them, letting them know we represent a constituency that might be up to 30 million people, letting them know that what you're doing is disrespectful. This has never happened before. We are hearing congresspeople and senators giving speeches today, and it's exciting for me when they talk about all the beliefs in this country and the non-beliefs. When they talk about all the people of different faiths and those people with no faiths. That's exciting because that's never happened before. We are raising the consciousness, and we need to continue to do this. We've got the momentum. And the thing is, we'll never get the momentum like this again. And if we don't take advantage of it, we'll lose it. There was a British author named, I believe it was Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote a book called The Tipping Point. And the concept of this book was that an idea, Richard Dawkins calls it a meme, an idea reaches a certain point and it gets to the tipping point. And what that means is if no action is taken to continue it, it'll just fall back and disappear. Or it can go over that tipping point and become a well-established principle. Well, the concept of non-theism as being a valid belief system is at that tipping point. And unless everybody who is a non-theist pushes this concept, then we will fall back and never get over that tipping point. Last year, the Secular Coalition for America, 2 years ago, had a contest. And the contest was to determine who is the highest ranking elected public official in the United States. The idea being to show that it's almost impossible to be elected if you're not a theist. And people would nominate those people they felt were non-theists. The Secular Coalition for America then contacted these people and asked them, are you willing to come out publicly? Are you willing to have us acknowledge that you are a non-theist? Well, the highest ranking public official turned out to be a congressman from California named Pete Stark. And he made a simple statement saying, I'm a Unitarian Universalist who does not believe in God. Well, that was enough to make headlines throughout the United States. You know, the nerve of this congressperson to come out and say he did not believe in God. If John McCain or Barack Obama keeps talking consistently about who believes more than the other, nothing is wrong with that. But you get a congressman saying, I don't believe in God. And that was enough to make headlines. The American Humanist Association gave Pete Stark its award this past June for Humanist of the Year for having the nerve to do something so daring. The person who came in second was a state senator from Maryland named Jamie Raskin, who we also gave an award to. And the person who came in third was an elected dog catcher in some community. The point is, I want my grandchildren to know they could be elected president of the United States, whether or not they believe in a God or not. And this is not disrespecting religion. This is just getting respect for everybody, whether there is a belief or not a belief. I'm not going to go on because I'm ready to get on my soapbox and I don't want to do that. So what I'd like to do is just hear your questions and then we can just take it from there about anything. But one of the things the Secular Coalition is doing, by the way, I have to mention this, the Democratic Convention, this is not a political endorsement, but they are planning, Reverend Daughtry is her name, she's planning a faith gathering at the convention where people from all faiths are going to be represented to show this melting pot in our country of various faiths. The Secular Coalition has contacted them and said, we have lots of non-theists who should be represented. We make up a large portion of your party. If you want us, are you taking us for granted, or do you want us to be to continue to represent your party? Well, there still has not been a decision. And if you see this faith gathering without non-theists represented, I urge you to contact your local congresspeople who will be at that Democratic convention and let them know how outraged you are about it. If we don't let them know, then we won't get our voice at the table. I used to say that, but I won't say it anymore. And the reason I won't is because I know about humankind, and I know how good it is. See, there was some of you might remember the television program All in the Family. I'm dating myself. Ages ago, and Archie Bunker, the main character, is a bigoted white male, and he's discussing religion with his son-in-law, and the word faith comes up, and the son-in-law says to him, well, what do you mean when you keep talking about faith? What's faith? And Archie Bunker, who's supposed to be a pretty dumb guy, says, well, faith is when you believe what nobody in their right mind would believe. Okay. So, you know, as far as humankind and things, I don't have faith. I have knowledge of the good potentials of people. I've heard that question so many times, and I still don't have a good answer. But I don't think you can. I don't think I can. I can respect people who are religious or not disrespect them. I don't say respect. You know, H.L. Mencken, one of the most famous quotes of his, well, not famous in my mind, a quote that I loved. H.L. Mencken was a social critic and a writer, and he said, I can respect somebody's religious beliefs the same way I would respect his belief that his wife is beautiful and his kids are smart. Okay. In other words, you've got to think about that a few times. Okay, the point is, there's no way I would ever think his kids are smart. There's no way I will ever think his wife is beautiful. But when he says it, I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. That's what I mean by respect. I'll give him a chance. Well, tell me about your wife. Tell me about your kids, and nod and walk away. But there's no way I can respect somebody for teaching their children not to think critically. And when you tell a child you have to believe it because it's written in a book, I personally think it doesn't go to the extreme of physical abuse, but it is some kind of psychological abuse of a child. So I can't really think well, but I don't have to say it. And that's all I'm asking them to do for me. Okay? Give me a seat, give me a voice, just like you give everyone else. And that's it. I wish I had a better answer for you. Well, I thank you all for inviting me here.